What's good, everybody? Welcome back to the 8th conversation that we're having here on the Flight Time channel. I don't know necessarily if we need to keep saying what episode it is. It's the 8th. You'll see it on the title. But anyways, this is the first one back. I'm sorry about the last episode. I dropped the ball. Somebody wanted to record like at, I don't know, 1 a.m, and I was dead tired. So that's my bad, though.
It was more like 3 a.m.
Okay, yeah. Like you weren't going to catch me at that hour, bro. You weren't going to get me at 3.
Well, I sat down there and I was like, all right, I'm just going to bang this episode out. I'm just going to sit here and ramble and talk about agriculture and drones. That's what I talked about. So I sat there. I'm pretty sure I did it in like 3 different takes. And I was like, yeah, this sounds good. So, but yeah, glad to have you back because having to sit there and talk to myself, it's really boring.
Yeah, I'm actually excited though because I haven't watched the podcast. I haven't listened to the podcast, but I've got a 4-hour drive on Thursday. So I'm just like, I'll just throw it on. That'll kill a half hour. Hopefully you don't put me to sleep.
Oh God, man, bars. All right, so today we wanted to talk about why do you fly? Why do we fly? And I thought it'd be pretty cool. I think that it's kind of easy to lose touch with why I even began flying drones, just because it's kind of something I do for work now, but it's also something I love to do. So, part of me is like, I even sat there and I thought about it, like, why did I start doing this in the first place? Because it's easy to kind of, when the volume is there, lose touch with why you actually began flying drones. So I figured it'd be cool if we started out by talking about like what interested us, why we wanted to get started flying drones in the first place, and then also, I'm gonna ask this again later in the video, but why did you guys first start flying drones? If you're on YouTube, if you're on iTunes and Spotify, I think you guys can all leave comments. So go ahead and let us know why you guys started flying. So Ken, why do you fly? How'd you start flying?
I honestly started flying. It was Christmas time, probably about 2.5 years ago, and I think I've told this story before. My wife bought me a Parrot Bebop for Christmas. I had made a mention that I was like, I want a drone, and at the time the Phantom 3 was out, and I think the Phantom 3 4 Pro was out, and I had looked at those drones, but I was like, I don't know if I want to buy a drone that expensive. I'm like, I'm probably gonna wreck it, and I wrecked the Bebop like crazy bad. So that was my first drone, and the minute I started flying, I was like, man, this is really fun. You can get a lot of cool footage with it, and I remember losing it in a tree, and I had 2 Bebops. I had a yellow one, I had a red one, and I remember just absolutely obliterating both of them. And I think I actually sold one of them. I don't know who bought it, but man, it was crazy. And then I went to a Phantom 3 Standard, and it got even better. And I think the first sunset I captured was Juno, or sunrise was Juno Beach. And it was fun. I looked at the footage, I was like, man, this is great. But I think a lot of, like me specifically, you watch these YouTube videos and you saw like Casey Neistat doing it at the time, and you're like, oh, I can be the next Casey. And then it evolves into something more.
Well, it's funny that you bring up the Phantom 3 line, because I remember when I first started getting into drones, or when I first started like looking around, the Phantom 3 was the thing to get. That was like the Cadillac of drones, right? And I remember going and looking back at the Phantom 3 now, and it's kind of gross. It's kind of ugly. It looks almost like not really well put together. But again, that's just the product of evolution, because you look back at the very first Phantom, and at first it didn't even come with a camera. You had to somehow strap on a GoPro in there, and to see how far they've come, and they've really integrated the camera system right within the drone, is amazing. But I remember when I first started getting into drones, like really heavily looking at them and researching, the Phantom 3 was like the thing to get. And then the Phantom 4 came out, and I was like, yep, this is the one. Finally purchased it. I finally bought it. In fact, I was saving up money in order to build a PC. And I just didn't have enough money to actually build the one that I wanted to, like get the components I wanted to. So I ended up putting that money towards the drone. I bought like their combo that they had, where if you bought 2 batteries, like an extra battery would be a certain amount off. So I put all of my money I saved up all summer going into college into the drone, and it's kind of cool how much it's paid off. It's something that I really had to convince my parents to let me get, and I sound like a kid saying that. But, going into college, they still somewhat had a say over what I was spending my money on, especially a big ticket item like that. And I remember bringing it over to my dad's house for the very first time, and I was like, hey, check this out. And I put it up in the air, and he goes, Oh my God, I didn't expect that. He thought I was talking about a little micro drone. But to your point, how you said the Parrot, you crashed that thing a ton. Those things are resilient, man.
They are, man. I remember I used to like when my Instagram was really cluttered, I had a video of it flying through because it was cool. It could do like flips and stuff, and it was like more entertainment than anything. But as soon as you got out like any bit of distance, like I'm talking about 200 feet from your phone, because it was all Wi-Fi, forget it. It was gonna hit something. It was, but nothing bad could happen with that because it was all made out of styrofoam. So if it fell or something or hit somebody, like nobody was getting hurt type of thing. So it was a lot of fun. It had that fisheye effect. The photos looked terrible. I mean, it was the Parrot Bebop 1, so it wasn't even the 2 at the time, and it was a lot of fun. I remember I graduated. I got a Unique Breeze.
Mm-hmm.
And then I ended up sending back the Phantom 3 standard. That's what I had. And I was like, man, this is just sort of underwhelming. Yeah. And you know what? I remember at the time I called Autel, and this is when they were like still sort of small. And I talked to Tim and Andrew on the phone. This is before I even like knew anything really about drones, or they even knew who I was. They had no idea. Yeah. And they talked me into buying an Autel X-Star. Okay. And when I got the X-Star, I was like absolutely sold on it. I was like, this is great. And the photos and the video were great at the time. It's funny how like my tastes have changed. Like I'm much more critical. It was more fun when you knew less about it, I think, sometimes.
And I agree. I feel like I almost spoiled it because the very first drone I bought was the Phantom 4. And that was at the time, like I was talking about, like the Cadillac of drones. That was like the Cadillac of drones. So I feel like I didn't work my way up, start out with like the Honda Civic, move up to this, right? I feel like I jumped right into it. And I would have loved to be able to start smaller. I mean, I guess when I was younger, I was flying around those stupid little remote helicopters that you get from like Brookstone, right? So that's what I used to do when I was younger. I always found drones fascinating. The one thing that I thought was just so cool about them, and I guess the real reason I wanted it, is just because being able to look up in the sky and see this drone flying and then look down on my remote controller and say, wow, like I can control this. That was what really brought me into wanting to do drones. Before buying my Phantom 4, I really had no experience shooting video, no experience shooting photo. At the time, I didn't even know what a raw photo was. So that's how I really got my start with really liking shooting photo and video. So I didn't necessarily buy my drone to take better photos and videos. I just bought it because I thought it was really awesome to see it sitting there flying and having control of it. I mean, what about you? Did you have any experience with like cameras beforehand?
Yeah, so I've had camera experience beforehand, and my channel at the time was all about tech, and it was primarily about phones and like tablets and a little bit on computer side and things like that, but it was heavily oriented around like non-flying things, not really creation. Like I look back, I'll watch my videos now and I'm like, man, my channel's really evolved, like from somebody who was talking about just products, reviewing product, not really doing tutorials or anything like that, but just like now it's like creation. And I was thinking today, like I was looking at those, so I'm down in Palm Beach and I saw your video that you did when you were out in Cali. And I'm like, I started thinking about it, I'm like, he really didn't have time to meet up with anybody. Like, you know what I mean? Like you really didn't have time to meet up, and it's like, you're staring there, you bring your drone, you bring your Mavic with you got these batteries, and you're sort of like, you want to fly, but it's like, you want to share that moment. You know what I mean? Like the best part about flying, and the reason why I like to fly, is because it's sort of interactive with people. Like the minute you share a photo, you're sharing a view of something that nobody else has seen, but somebody who flies a drone can immediately appreciate. I don't think people who don't fly understand like how much fun it is, and like the shots, like the thought process, or even the adrenaline that goes through you every time you take off. Because every time we take off, whether we want to think about it or not, these are pieces of hardware and they can fail. And I think that's sort of, for me, sort of the thrill. I don't know if I'm going to get my drone back when I take off. It's sort of part of the thrill. Today I just rolled 1,200 flights on my DJI Go app, and I still love the sensation of taking off, sending the drone up in the air, seeing it buzz away, and then also I love being able to see it come back down, especially with the Inspire, being able to bring it back down,
land it, have the legs come underneath of it. I mean, that's a way that I really think that we know that we love what we're doing, because if we were really not into this, first of all, 2 years later, we probably would be like moving on to something else. But also, I mean, just the fact that we still get excited over the little things, it really does kind of open my eyes, because again, there's these moments where I feel like I'm almost losing touch. And I remember, we bring him up every time, talking to Steve. He loves shooting photos, but now he shoots real estate photos, and he churns out hundreds of photos a day. And it gets to the point where you might get to the point where you don't even like photography anymore, because you just keep shooting and shooting and shooting. And I'm hoping that doesn't happen to me, because it certainly hasn't happened to him. He still loves getting out and shooting photos just for fun. But that's one thing I definitely won't let. I won't let it be taken away from me, and I'm glad I'm realizing it before it's too late, because if I get to the point where I'm like, man, I hate flying drones, then that's the day I know I screwed up. So being able to go into it with like a mentality of like, I love to fly, I love what I'm doing, is something that's priceless.
I think like this week I was, obviously I'm down south, and the first thing I do when I get down here is I reach out to my buddy Steve Pohl with Blue Eye Visuals. Like, he's usually the first person I hit up, because he's always down to fly. He's got the Mavic 2 Pro, and he always gets some like crazy great captures down here. He does real estate too. And I hit him up because I been out on a boat all weekend filming this video for the Gladius, and nothing went right on that trip, by the way. Nothing went right. It was an amazing trip, but nothing went according to plan. And what was weird was that I brought my drone with me on the boat, but I never once took off. My buddy Mitch, who we got to have on this podcast, he does 107 training. Like, that's cool. All he does. And he trains colleges and teaches, drone safety. And he was on the boat, and he brought his Phantom 4 Pro. And I actually just let him do the flying, and I just sort of directed him. And that was actually pretty fun, because I'm just like telling him what shots we needed. And I'm just sitting there like laying back watching him do it. And it was just sort of a weird experience, because I'm like watching him enjoy the flight. And we were doing like 25 miles an hour. And dude, we just snatched that thing like out of the air. It was awesome, man.
I love flying from boats, but I do want to hear about your trip, because the shots that you got with the Gladius underwater were pretty cool. But why don't you finish what you were saying? You got down to Florida. You met up with your friend Jake.
I reached out to Steve. Well, I met up with Jake and Steve, both of them. Jake flies the Inspire 2, and he's always over water, and he's another one. Like, he was doing something entirely different, but now his work really heavily relies around drones, and he's always taking off around water. So it was weird, like, having that role reversal. Like, I was in his world, and I'm like, man, I don't know how you do this type of work, but it's crazy. It was fun, like filming on a boat. But we were trying, like, Steve and I were trying to force ourselves to take different shots of things, or at least if we see something, get up in the air and capture it. Like these Devasta these towers, like this crazy architecture down here. I'll probably get a capture of it tomorrow, but I'm going to try to get some photos of it. But it's hard. Like, when you're by yourself, sometimes you don't want to fly. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you don't want to fly, like, because, I don't know, the gratification of it all isn't there. I don't know. It's hard to explain. It's weird.
Well, that's the thing, right? Is like when we're together, that's my favorite time flying, because you're with somebody else. Like, as we're shooting, we're like, yo, look at this. And then you say, oh, you know what? This will be a cool shot. And then you'll go get it, or I'll go get it. So it's really cool to be able to bounce ideas right there off of each other in real time. I think for me, it's all about flying with somebody else, because that's just when it's the most fun.
When I was growing up, I used to ride BMX competitively, like freestyle. I was sponsored for a while, and then like my buddy, we used to all ride, and we would be at the skate parks pushing each other to go harder, stronger, bigger than before. I mean, just crazy. And this was before YouTube and everything. It was like I was like 14, 16 years old, and we were just like pushing ourselves to go as hard as we can. And that sort of, I see that like now, like it's sort of surreal, because I step back, I'm like, here it is, like 15 years later, it's just a different sport, a different hobby, but the mentality of like when you fly with somebody is still the same, because you push each other to go bigger or further or faster. I don't know. I wish more people would sit back and like think about that. Like, you look at some of these groups that we see, like the Five Boroughs groups.
Yeah.
Those guys got it right because
Oh yeah.
you're flying with people, you're having a good time. You know what I mean? And I can't explain it. I wish more people had that mentality, like group flight type of thing. It's hard, but it's fun. It's so much fun.
And those guys, man, 5 boroughs, they've got radios, they've got 20 guys flying at once, and all
Legit.
20 of them aren't up in the air at the same time, but they've got it down to a science, and flying with them is like no other because this is it, right? Like, why do we fly drones? We love flying drones. They love flying their drones, and they're in such a little tight-knit community there, and they all share their photos with each other, and they all are, there's almost like a competition in there. Like, they're all trying to shoot better photos than each other, but it's all like a friendly competition, and I just find it awesome. So getting a little bit away from this topic for a second, I did want to ask you about, because this is the first time we've been talking in a while, at least, face to face. I wanted to talk to you about that shark that you caught on the Gladius. You got to tell that story.
It was so crazy. So I was pretty bummed out. Like, the whole reason why we went on the boat and this whole trip happened was because we got a 5-fish V6. I have the Gladius, and the Gladius, I had broke the Gladius, or I had thought I broke the Gladius, and I was talking with Dan a little bit, Drone Worship, and I was like, hey, I'm having this issue with this thing. I can't get this motor started. So he gave me some tips to troubleshoot it, and I was able to troubleshoot it and fix the Gladius. I was like, hell yeah. So I got it fixed. I was like, all right, cool. I can take both of these drones out on the water, these ROVs, and compare the two cameras together. And the 5-fish looks just insane. Like, if you never saw that unit, it looks insane. So we were out on the water for about an hour, and I had the controls. And Zach says to me, he goes, hey, let me try it out here, because I just got, we changed it over from like the Chinese controls to the American controls, so it acts like your yaw and everything acts like a drone. As soon as I handed it over to him, like a matter of minutes, he's surfacing and runs over a monofilament fishing line. Basically gets wrapped up in the motor. The motor is just trying to bind, and we didn't know at the time. And yeah, so it burned up the left front motor, so that was kaput. And then other things broke. We broke other things on it just because we're idiots. But we decided, I was like, all right, well, I'll take the Gladius out. Like, this is like the second best option. So I took it out. I dove it down like 65 feet. Started like just trucking along, and something came out of nowhere and hit the drone and like literally spun it in a barrel roll. And I was like, what the hell was that? I thought it was a fish or like a kingfish. So I immediately hit the record button, and I'm just trucking on again. And this shark just comes out of nowhere and just smacks the front of the Gladius again. And I was like, oh my God, a shark. I'm like flipping out. And I thought it was gone. And then like it came back again and like it whipped at me, man. It was crazy. It looked like a reef shark or something. It didn't look like a tiger shark, but it was pretty big.
It was really epic. I don't know if you sent me the full thing, but it would have been awesome if you could see like the front of it coming straight at you, like out of the darkness of the ocean. That would just be so awesome.
It was creepy.
Yeah. Now the thumbnail you have of the Gladius like sitting on the surface, how'd you get that? How'd you shoot that?
All right. So basically this entire trip cost me almost $2,000. I gave away the Gladius to my buddy Jake, and I also gave him my Osmo Pocket. Or my Osmo Action. He didn't have. Yeah. He's been shooting on a GoPro, and honestly, I'm really a firm believer that the Osmo Action is so much better than a GoPro.
I agree.
So we were in 2,000 feet of water, and this dude, he is crazy. He gets on his like fins and snorkel and just jumps in the water. 2,000 feet of water, and he's just trucking around. But mind you, I still have footage of dolphin. Like, he's swimming with dolphin. What was that? I'm not allowed to strike that.
Well, yeah. So that was taken with the Osmo Action.
Yeah, dude. It was with dude, and that camera is so good.
It really is.
That trip made me just think. I'm like, man, it's good.
I always keep it in my backpack. I wish I used it more, but I've got a little
reminds me of Peter McKinnon.
Yeah, dude, it's that shot was really awesome because at first I was looking at it, and if you guys don't know what I'm talking about, go check out Ken's last video, because not only is that footage you got awesome, also that thumbnail is incredible. I was thinking to myself, like, how did he shoot this? Like, if a drone got that low, it would be taken out by the water.
No, he was in the water. A lot of the shots we got on this video are just, I couldn't do it if he didn't get in the water. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. He's like, yeah, because Zach was getting seasick, and we were like, jump in the water, it'll make you feel better. But it's 2,000 feet.
Yeah.
Like, it's not that you're gonna sink. It's just it's overwhelming. I'm glad I didn't jump in because I needed shots from the boat, and I mean, he just 100% delivered on every shot. But I shot with the Sony A6400 on the Ronin SE and the Osmo Action, and honestly, I probably could have just used the Osmo Action for the entire trip. I feel like the color of decinelike on the Osmo Action, when you grade it, looks amazing.
It's unreal. This is getting away from drones and the topic, but did you see the leaked photos of the GoPro Hero 8?
Yeah, I did see that, but here's my problem with GoPro is, and this may be me, I don't know, I feel like their flat picture profile sucks.
You know what? I actually haven't messed with their color profiles. I really do think that video, for being an action camera, that video you get straight out of it, that's perfectly good to me. I mean, I fix it up a little bit, grade it up a little bit, but I think that the video that comes off of it is pretty damn good.
I mean, it's just such clear quality, and like even underwater, the auto white balance that the Osmo Action had in decinelike, I didn't have to really touch the footage really at all. I mean, we shot a lot in log, like everything we shot, even on the Phantom 5, like all that was shot in log to try to color match everything. And yeah, the whole video, I'm just really stoked. So by the time this episode releases, it'll go live by like 12 p.m.
Nice.
But it's pretty stoked.
So yeah, so let's get back to our topic here. Why do you fly? Why do you think that other people get into drones? Like what do you think is the reason that they go out and they buy a drone and they're actually like, they want to fly it, they want to drop this money?
Damn. Okay, so that's an interesting question, and part of me feels like they think it's a great idea, but here's what I see a lot of times. What's happened is people are buying drones and they're just buying them, but they're not really flying them, and they're in all these groups and they're talking about what they have, but I never see anything. Like, I feel like there's this, like, I don't know, like they almost treat this like it's an Elks Club or a Moose Lodge or something. That's not what this is. Like, that's not what this is. Like, this is about getting some of the craziest captures that you cannot get with your typical DSLR. People jump all over people in this community about that, and I feel like that's, the reason why we have a drone is to be places that you can't normally be.
Yep.
So is it outlandish to put your drone, slightly in a predicament that may make you cringe? No, it's not outlandish, but I mean, is it responsible? No, it's debatable. I'm not here practicing unsafe flight, but I'm just saying, like, that's the reason why I have a drone. I have a drone to be where I can't be. I have a fear of heights. So, but oddly enough, I'll put the drone where I can't be.
Yeah. Well, look, I'm in this situation now as I'm getting older. I'm like 21, where I'm starting to get like I'm starting to realize that, boys and their toys, now, first of all, I just want to say that I understand that there are a lot of female flyers out there. In fact, I went to a meeting. I forget what her name is. I've got to do a little bit more research, but it's a group called Women Who Drone, and it's comprised of women who fly drones. But I would say, there's definitely a predominant male presence in the drone community. If you look at like the male to female ratio on my channel, it's like 96% are male, 4% are female, right? So it definitely is very predominantly male heavy, and because of that, look, I mean, guys love their toys, right? I know that I would love to get like an ATV. I'd love to go and get like a jet ski. Like, we love our toys, and the drone is just another toy. And I think that because the first thing that people ask me is, well, how far can it go? I think that people love the fact that they can put this drone up and just go anywhere, especially if you have one of these newer drones like the Mavic 2, being able to fly 2 miles away if you really wanted to with the long flight time of 30 minutes. I mean, just how I said, I love just being up in the air and flying it around and seeing the drone sit there and know that I've got control over it. I think that people have that with mixed in like I just want to fly somewhere where I'm not and see something cool. There's like an aspect of people who probably get into it because they are photographers, they are videographers, and they want to add to their services, or they want to add to the videos that they create, their craft, and they're like, well, look, to take this to the next level, I need a drone.
I agree with that. I'm sorry, I've got Freewell just responded to my email about those ND filters.
Okay, we'll talk about that later.
Yeah, I'm a little annoyed about that, but I digress. I'm so salty this week. Yeah, I mean, I just want to see more from people when they buy these drones. Like, don't worry about, like, I've gotten to the point, I don't know, I've had a mental breakdown recently, I think. I know it's odd to say. I'm not going to, like, really elaborate, but I've had a mental breakdown just in YouTube. Like, I've been depressed with the content and not happy with the content, because I feel like sometimes when I go out, like when you're creating content online, you feel almost forced to go out and do something to almost stay relevant. But I had this epiphany the other day that I'm like, I don't even care. I was flying in something, like I almost lost the Mavic 2 Pro by hitting a palm tree. And I'm screaming, I'm like, that was awesome. Like, I've got I haven't released the footage, but it was like, that was awesome. Like, and it made me think, I'm like, I want to just do more, just like go places and just vlog, but recap the experience with things. And like, when I saw your video, when you were flying in, Huntington Beach, I was like, that's it. I'm like, you get it. Like, that is it. Like, you're just flying. There's no products. We're not trying to sell anybody something. Like, people are just witnessing the whole joy of like being able to jump up in the air, deplete batteries. And, I'm not even mad I have to buy new batteries, because I realize, like, I fly a lot. So it's just wear and tear. It's just like a car. It's just like replacing your brakes.
Well, you just had a battery swell up on you, right?
Yeah, matter of fact, now I have another battery swolled up, so I'm down to one battery. I mean, the second one's not too bad. Like, I could still fly with it, I think. But it makes me nervous, just knowing that there's any sort of distension in the battery cell itself. So I'm just going to buy more. I'm going to get like 4 or 5 different batteries.
Yeah, and that's the cost of flying. I know that there's people that like to practice, I guess, like safe battery storing tricks and tips and all this stuff. I can tell you, look, man, I keep these batteries fully charged at all time. And if they go down to 0.5% or 50% to go into storage mode or whatever, then I just put them right back on the charger, whether it's my Inspire, my Phantom, or my Mavic. I mean, I've got these 3 drones I have in rotation, and sometimes I'll have a drone that sits there for maybe 10 days and it's not flown because I'm flying the other ones. And then before I go out, if I've got to charge them up, I charge them right up. And I know that people buy LiPo bags. I know that people will only charge them up a certain percentage if they're storing them. I mean, look, I keep these batteries fully charged at all times. I've had my Phantom 4 batteries for 2 years now. They haven't had an issue with them. I've got Mavic 2 batteries with over 100 flights on them. No issues with them. So
I think it's the heat down here. The heat down here is really abusive to batteries.
Dude, it really could be.
That's the biggest thing. And I think about times too, like when we're flying, as soon as we get done, we're in a car and we're like immediately charging the Mavic 2 Pro batteries. Like as soon as we hit the car, like we don't give them any downtime after discharge. But I can't be mad about that. Like I just can't be, because that's my own fault. Like, and I don't even care. It's the cost of doing business out here.
Yeah, I agree. Well, look, they do have this period, and I've noticed this, where like when you land a drone and it's hot, and if you plug that battery right in, it's gonna have this cool down period where it just blinks until it gets to a certain portion.
Right.
These batteries are pretty expensive, but if you bought the drone in the first place, I mean, there should be some room to purchase some more batteries, and I always like to have at least 3 on hand.
Yeah, I have 3 now, but 1 on the way out. I'm gonna get some more batteries this weekend. I'm just gonna walk into Best Buy and try to snag some. I mean, because I see they have them there now, so I'm like, well, might as well. I could get them online, but I feel like if I get them online, it's gonna take too long.
That's what's nice about Best Buy, right? I mean, there's all these stores that are going downhill because of Amazon, but in my opinion, man, Best Buy survived the wave. And I think that using leverage, like using their I guess their stores as like distribution points so they can then ship from them. I mean, it's huge.
Yeah, they're smart, man. They're like the Trojan horse. They put I bought things on Prime Day and it was shipped from Best Buy. So Best Buy is smart. They're like, you know what? We're not gonna try to beat Amazon. We're just gonna join them. And that right there is really super smart.
They're good. They're good. I've got a Best Buy credit card. It's like 5% cash back. That's sweet.
Yeah.
Especially for me, right? I live right on right towards the southern border of Pennsylvania. I can just jet over to Best Buy, which is right over the border in Delaware, and get no sales tax. So these they're the technology items. They're a high ticket. They're a high ticket item. So if you're going to be spending $2,000, saving tax could save you a good amount of money.
Yeah. I agree. I mean, that's what I did. I bought my MacBook Pro, and I ended up buying it from Best Buy because they just had the best deal, and the warranty's still the same, and Apple acknowledges them as a certified Apple dealer, so it just makes good sense.
That's where I bought my first Phantom 4 was from Best Buy, and it's pretty cool to go in there and see that they pretty much have a whole entire aisle dedicated to drones. I remember for a while I was in my local Best Buy, I saw the drones sort of like on the end of the shelf, you know what I mean? Like they were on like the side of the aisle, and now they have a full aisle. They've got things from DJI to Autel to Parrot. They even sell Unique in there, which I don't know how many of those they sell. But
man, they don't sell many, I don't think.
It's pretty cool to see. But yeah, man, these guys, you really want to try to surround yourself with people that love to fly. On the topic that you said, how you were like, not many people. You see people buy these drones and they keep them up on their shelf. Well, it's crazy to see that some people are selling their drones and they're selling like Mavic 2 Pros with only 5 flights on them.
Yeah, I see that a lot. And people, I don't think people get mad in the videos because when we're doing videos, we're flying all different types of drones all the time, and people always comment, but well, what drone is your favorite? What? And my honest answer is I really don't have a favorite drone because I try to fly them all equally. I treat them like my children. I try, I really can't pick a favorite. It's not fair to pick a favorite, and they all have their strengths. And I just know what drone is good for, what. And I try to leverage those strengths when you fly. So if I know I'm in a situation where I may want to slow something down, okay, P4 Pro or Autel Evo. If I need more dynamic range, okay, maybe I'm going to use the Mavic 2 Pro. Or if I'm flying at night. I didn't say I'm flying at night, but if that was something I was going to do, maybe in another country, not here, I don't know. That's probably what I would use. I don't know.
I always say it, man, but I don't like flying at nighttime. It's not like I'm scared or whatever, but it's just I don't like the footage that comes from a drone at nighttime. Only certain scenarios, maybe if you've got a lot of light and you've got some cool action, but I don't know, man. It's just not something that I'm crazy about.
Twilight is the hour to fly, man. That's the most beautiful hour to fly.
Exactly, especially when you have that blue sky. It's perfect. But the reason I wanted to choose this topic was not only to hear from Ken and I and talk about why we started flying, why we love flying, why other people love flying, but you right now watching it, if you're on Spotify or iTunes, Apple Podcasts now, and I don't know if there's a way to comment on those platforms. If you want to tweet at us, I'm at Billy Kyle. Ken is at Original Dobo. If you want to start up a conversation, just go ahead. I mean, I love talking to other people about why they fly, why they love to fly, where their favorite places to fly, because, like you were saying earlier, there's a sense of community with drones, and one of the biggest things is trying to join a community, because sharing your experience and being able to I guess maybe learn from other people's experiences or live through other people's experiences is awesome. Exactly. And if you're on YouTube, go ahead and leave us a comment about why you fly, why you love to fly, where you fly, because it's something that's interesting to me.
And the reason why too, guys, we're we tell you to hit us up on Twitter is because we have our notifications turned on Twitter, so we can see more. We can respond faster, and it's a little bit more interactive when people respond on Twitter. I don't have my notifications turned on YouTube. If I did, it would be notification central, and I just can't handle that.
It's tough, man, trying to deal with YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Those, I mean, your just notifications are getting blown up. So trying to limit it down to only the important ones, which Twitter is probably one of the most important social media apps to me.
Absolutely.
But we'd love to hear from you guys. We'd love to hear from you guys. As we close off all shows, we just want to let you guys know that this backdrop, this thumbnail, if you guys want to go ahead and submit your own photo for us to feature, go ahead and email that to the email down in the description. It's flytetimepodcast@gmail.com. Go ahead and let us know. What's that?
What thumbnail which one were you using for this one?
So it's funny because you were talking about Juno Beach earlier. We're using a photo of yours from Juno Beach.
Oh, okay. That was shot with the Alta Evo, I believe.
Yeah. So look, guys, we love to feature your work. We're gonna be able to give you a shout out. We'll put your name down there. We'll talk a little bit about the photo. We'll also be able to say where it was taken, say with what drone it was taken. So give us some information when you send it out to us, and we'll be sure to reply to you. We'll try to reply to everyone through the email. But yeah, guys, thanks for stopping in. Ken, you have anything else?
No, that's it, man. We'll talk with everybody later. Thanks so much for anybody who's listened to us on Spotify, YouTube, or Apple Music. I think that's the 3 main locations where we're at. Mm-hmm. Appreciate all the interaction. Thanks for everybody for understanding this new format because it's much easier on us.
Yeah, I agree. I love sitting down and having this conversation. We're actually both not in our normal recording locations, and it makes it easier just to do audio on the road. Especially, it's easier on the uploads. It's easier on the the file managing.
Especially somebody editing on a pink MacBook.
Yeah, we'll talk about that. Oh well, here, you know what? We'll actually talk about it right now. My MacBook got destroyed. MacBook Pro. I mean, look, I had it at the time. It was the highest end, $4,300, and a wooden beam fell on it, and the screen is broken. So I've got that off being fixed right now. I am currently editing on my girlfriend's pink MacBook. So
I wonder if they're going to fix the deck lid. Remember you had that dent in the deck lid?
Yeah, and I hope that they don't have to do that because then that might involve even more work.
Well, if they're replacing the battery, I think you're going to get a new. If they're replacing the keyboard, you're going to get a new deck lid because they put the new keys in there.
Well, that'd be nice. So we'll see what happens, but I can't wait to get that thing back. It's only been one day, and I'm already dying without it. And also, just to let you guys know, the next episode is going to be one that we've already filmed in advance. I think in the beginning you're like, "Welcome to episode number 7," but that's going to be episode number 9, and we talk about our favorite season to fly. So yeah, that's all that I've got.
I said that this is episode number 8.
Yes, yeah, but you said because we were going to upload that as the 7th one. So
yeah.
You said welcome to number 7, but it'll be uploaded as number 9. But whatever. Hope you guys enjoy it.
It doesn't matter. Don't worry about the episode numbers. Just enjoy, listen, and we'll see you next time. Talk to you next time.
Later, guys.
Later.